So there we go. All right, so a little bit about me. If my presentation wants to run, there we go. That's me. I I am a Pinellas County native. I've been working here at the county for about 4 years. I'm in building and development review services as an administrative assistant. But before that, I worked at Joann Fabric. Rest in peace. I miss her dearly. Um, but I think that was not even quite the start of my obsession with clothes and fabrics because my mom is a home economics teacher. So she taught me how to sew at a very young age. And it's just kind of stuck with me ever since then. And so everything in that realm has always been a passion of mine. I am a seamstress. I quilt. Well, I try to quilt. The quilting itself doesn't always happen, but the fabric accumulation happens. And that's half the battle, is getting the supplies. So we're doing well. Alrighty, so a little bit about what we're going to cover today. The benefits of shopping secondhand. I'm going to talk about some definitions that maybe you aren't so familiar with, and I'm going to use them a lot. So we'll just get everyone on the same page there. What we're going to look for when we're at a thrift store, and then we'll summarize and I'll answer some questions. I will ask that you hold your questions till the end. I'm on my little laptop. I don't have multiple screens, so I can't see the chat at the same time. So go ahead and put them in the chat. I just won't see them till the very end. All right, so you may be asking yourself, what does thrifting have to do with wellness? And I would argue that it's very good for your emotional wellness, but we're actually in the financial wellness category today because we're going to be looking at how to get the most bang for your buck when you're shopping for clothes. When you go to the mall, you'll typically find three categories: your low quality clothes at a low price, kind of low mid quality clothes at a price, and then there's like your luxury high end quality clothes at an astronomical price. So naturally, our ideal scenario would be high quality, low price, which is what brings us to thrifting and shopping secondhand. So, what I hope you'll learn today is how to make shopping choices that are more intentional and quality purchases that will serve you for many, many years, regardless of where you buy your clothes, whether that's at Goodwill or Target or Nordstrom. You're going to go in there, grab something off the shelf, and figure out, is this worth my money? And that's what we're going to look at today. So why secondhand besides the great prices? It is quite a bit better for the planet. The United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, that's a tongue twister, estimated that the average consumer is purchasing 60% more items of clothing compared to the year 2000, but each garment that they purchase is kept half as long. The UNECE also estimates that 85% of textiles ends up in landfills per year, which is 21 billion tons per year. That's that's staggering. And that's just scratching the surface of environmental impacts. Manufacturing is not the most economical practice because you have things like chemical pollution, water usage, carbon emission, labor practices, and that's a whole nother rabbit hole that we don't have time to get into today. But if you're interested in learning more about that, I'll have some resources for you at the end. So a lot of the terms that I'm going to be throwing around is quality. What is low quality versus high quality? Low quality is almost synonymous with fast fashion. Fast fashion is aligned with the current season's trends, so things quickly become obsolete. They're generally designed and constructed to be as manufactured as quickly and cheaply as possible so they can get on those shelves and get in your carts. And they are not made to last. High quality clothes are designed and constructed to withstand years or decades or more years of wear. Slow fashion is the opposite of fast fashion. you can have something that's high quality and not slow fashion, because slow fashion is more of like those really timeless looks, like a white button-down shirt can be slow fashion, but you could also have a high quality, outrageous cow print vest. It's not slow fashion, but could still be high quality. But a great example of slow fashion is vintage Levi jeans because they last, they always look good. So one thing that you can ask yourself when you are looking at something is, what was the manufacturer's intention? Were they trying to crank something out, get it in the stores and in your closets as fast as possible for you to wear once and never again? Or is it something that you will wear over and over? So when I grab something off the shelf, I'm going to be looking at a few things: the material, the seams, the flaws, and then finally I'll head to the dressing room and see if it actually fits me. I prefer natural fibers, so I'm going to be looking for 100% or really close to it, whether that is cotton, linen, wool, or silk. Next, I'll turn it inside out to look at the seams. Are they sturdy or flimsy? Also take this time to look at the pleats and the darts. We'll get more into that a little bit later. And another once over for any holes or stains. Make sure that if there's anything that I need to fix, it is within my abilities. So we're going to watch a quick little video here about polyester, because honestly, until I started researching for this, I didn't quite see the whole picture of where polyester fabric comes from. So here we go. Lovely ad. Thank you very much for that, YouTube. Okay, I don't have the sounds going because it's just a silly little background music. But as we saw at the very beginning, I'll just go back real quick. This fellow is pouring in these polyethylene pellets, and they are now getting heated up in this giant machine. And then it gets shot out through these spinnerets. And this is the birth of polyester fabric. So they become these really long, thin polyethylene strips that gets wound around until eventually it fills up a full spool. And that spool is then knit or woven into the fabrics that we see in our clothes. And we'll just watch for another second so you can see that spool. There it goes. So that is a spool of polyester filament. Polyester is the cheapest material to produce, so it predominates the fast fashion industry. It is a product of fossil fuels and processed crude oil, just like plastic. Polyester actually has the same chemical makeup as a disposable plastic water bottle. So it's not my favorite thing to put on my body, but it does serve a lot of purposes. Because it's made from those really long continuous filaments that we saw, it is extremely strong and durable. Excuse me, I would like to move on to the next slide, please. There we go. Another synthetic fiber you'll see a lot, especially in fabric blends, is spandex. Spandex is also known as elastane, or the license name from the company DuPont is Lycra. So when you look at your tag, you see spandex, elastane, Lycra, all the same thing. It was invented in 1958 for the shapewear industry and quickly rose in popularity for its ability to stretch 500% and return to its original size. Spandex is very popular because of that stretchability. But what I really want to get on here to say is please do not buy jeans with more than 2% spandex or elastane in them. When different fabrics are blended together, the filaments or those yarns have to be cut shorter, and that makes the resulting fabric a lot weaker than the synthetic alone. And spandex has the particular misfortune of being very susceptible to heat. It warms up from your body heat, from washing in hot water, from the dryer, which makes those spandex fibers stretch and break, and then they don't snap back, which gives you this. We don't like that. So whenever I'm at a store and I'm looking at jeans, I check the crotch. Is it already stretched out? And I check the materials. If it's more than 2% spandex, this is going to happen really fast. This picture is from a user on Reddit. She bought these jeans from the brand Madewell, which is part of the J. Crew brand. The fabric content was listed as 95% cotton, 3% other fibers, and 2% elastane. So I looked on Madewell's website, and these jeans are $148. Like what? Brands use stretch as a cheap corner cutting alternative to, actually designing clothes that are made for a wide range of body shapes. And this is why I am so passionate about fabric and clothing quality, because some people can afford to place their jeans every year when they stretch out, but I can't. I imagine most of you can't either, especially not jeans that cost $150. It's so wasteful of the resources that get used to make this trash, and it's quite frankly exploiting our resources as consumers. So, moral of the story, 100% cotton jeans may take longer to break in, but they are a much better investment. Vintage denim is just, wow. So we talked about synthetic already. Now we're talking about natural fibers. Natural fibers are often more expensive to produce because it takes a lot more resources. It's not, whipping up a chemical, putting it through the machine. It takes a lot of man labor to turn a plant into a fabric and then into a garment. So when brands use natural fibers, especially ones that are of a higher quality, you're going to have a higher quality garment in the end, because why would you put in all that effort to make a fine linen shirt that's going to fall apart as soon as you wash it? Cotton is going to be the most common natural fiber you see. It's lightweight, breathable, and it's pretty low maintenance. But not all quality, not all cotton is created equally. One of the best ways to test this is to scrunch it in your hand, and if it bounces back to its shape, that's a good solid cotton. But if it stays scrunched, it's probably doesn't have a lot of life in it left. Which is not to say that you shouldn't buy it, but just bear in mind that it will take wrinkles very easily, so it will be more of a time investment to keep it nice and ironed and pressed if that's the look you desire. I apologize. I'm looking at my script over here because one's green. I got a little lost. There we go. The cotton is not the hardiest fabric, so you'll frequently see it blended with synthetics like polyester. The polyester adds strength and helps kind of fight the wrinkling that cotton is prone to do. Pima or Supima cotton is it's the cream of the crop of the cotton. It's made from really long cotton fibers, so it's extra strong and extra durable. Linen is made from bast, which is the inner bark of the flax plant. It is one of the oldest fabrics dating back to the ancient Egyptians, ancient Greeks, biblical times. It's thermoregulating, making it very popular for both the summer and the winter, and it is stronger than cotton because of the extensive processing that it takes to convert that bast into a usable material. It is considered kind of luxury nowadays, even though it used to be very common. Other materials just became more convenient, and so the less convenient ones became more elite, so to say. Silk is made from the cocoons of silk moths. It is more high maintenance than cotton or linen, and it is also a very old fabric. Some companies are working on a cruelty-free silk that is made from the cocoon after the moth hatches, which I am very excited about. This wasn't done before because the long, unbroken fibers, it's all about the fiber lengths, were more desirable because of their strength and their sheen, their opalescence that give it that really nice silky look. Unfortunately, that has been at the detriment of a lot of moths. So we're very happy to see more ethical silk entering the market. And wool gets its own slide. There are so many things to say about wool. It has natural UV protection, it's not flammable, it's antimicrobial, breathable, moisture wicking, odor resistant, and extremely durable. It is a fabric that takes a little bit more maintenance, but if you can commit to it, it is a really good investment. It might not seem like the most practical thing in Florida, but if your office is cold like mine, a wool sweater will serve you very nicely. There is even a company in Australia, or maybe it's New Zealand, that is making athletic wear out of wool. It's for all of the reasons, the moisture wicking, the breathability. It's a bit probably out of our price ranges, but I'm glad to see that it exists, and hopefully it'll become more mainstream and more affordable. When you're looking at anything that's wool, you might see a tag like that picture over there. That is called the Wool Mark certification. So during World War II, when synthetics were entering the scene, all the acrylics and nylons and polyesters, the natural fibers that were more high maintenance were starting to fall out of popularity. So the International Wool Secretariat introduced the Wool Mark logo. And this was to hallmark the highest standards for wool that have already been subjected to rigorous testing. While most wool has the reputation of being itchy, there are more luxury wools, which you'll tend to see as being merino, cashmere, and angora. I just love woolly bunnies. I highly suggest going on YouTube and looking at angora rabbits. They can spin the hair right off the bunny into yarn. It's so cute. I love it. Seams. As a seamstress, seams are very important to me. During the construction process, when two pieces of material are sewn together to create a seam, you are left with what is called a raw edge, which you kind of see in that picture of the denim, all the little yarn fraying. So to protect the raw edges, seams are run through a special sewing machine called a serger, which kind of wraps the edge up in thread like that to keep those loose yarns in check. They're not going to get frayed as they rub against other clothes or against your skin. But what isn't great is that some manufacturers will use the overlock as the only thing holding the fabric together, because it's a lot more time efficient. You know, you have your little fabric and you zoop it through one sewing machine, done, call it a day. But it's not structurally sound, because if you twist, I don't know if you've ever like raised your arm and you heard a pop. That was the threads that are holding your shirt together. One wrong move and your only line of defense is compromised. It seams. I get so excited when I find seams that look like this. The official sewing terminology, I won't test you on this, I promise, is called a flat felled seam. The edges of the fabric are completely encased. No raw edges, no overlock. It's just all tucked in. all nice and snug. This is a hallmark of a well-made garment because it is much more time consuming to do compared to one quick trip through the serger. I included that diagram. I don't know how easily you can read it, but it kind of shows the process. You have the edges, turn around, get through the sewing machine. It looks so nice. I love those. But it is not very commonly practiced. You can probably find it in some blue jeans, but you don't see it typically in shirts and other pieces of clothing. What is a step right below this, but definitely a step above the other, is a standard seam plus an overlock. So you see the yellow line of stitches. That is the stitches that are actually bearing the weight. And then the overlock is just there doing its original job, keeping all the little pieces from fraying. And it's much stronger than the overlock alone. Darts are another sign of a well-made garment. It's another time investment in the design and construction process, and it gives your clothes a nice flattering shape. Since humans are three-dimensional, our clothes should be dimensional too. Otherwise, we would just be wearing baggy sacks all the time. So you can see in that picture at the bottom kind of what a men's dress shirt looks like when it has these darts on the back. Gives it that nice tuck. And for women, you can see what's called a princess seam, where it runs down, and then many other shapes of darts. Darts are good. We like darts. And of course, if you like baggy clothes, that's great. I know as soon as I get home, I'm putting on an oversized t-shirt. But most of the time especially when we're at work, a nice, clean, tailored silhouette is the way to go. And you want darts to achieve that. All right, so I've got my shirt. I've looked it over for darts and for seams. Before I put it in my cart, I'm going to look at it thoroughly for any stains, especially in the armpits. If I took the time, I could probably lift sweat stains, but I have to ask myself, will I actually do that? Or is it going to sit in my to-do pile for the foreseeable future? And there is always a chance that I won't be successful removing that stain. So I have to ask myself if that's a gamble I'm willing to take. It'll depend on the severity, but for me, the answer is usually no. I'm a terrible procrastinator. I'll also inspect the hardware, look at the buttons and the buttonholes to see what state they're in. If any buttons are missing, if I'll have to sew them back on, if they're a little loose. It's not a huge deal for me. I like to sit down in front of the TV, do a little button repair. If you find a button that is sewn in like this with a thread wrapped around the base, it gives it a little bit of lift. That is some quality craftsmanship. I would say that finding buttons sewn on like this is even rarer than those enclosed seams. I think I only have one shirt that I've bought that had the buttons sewn in like this. So if you see that, congratulations. All right, the final test, the fitting room. After your selections have passed all the other examinations, now it's time to see if it actually fits you. So there are a few questions you could ask yourself here while you make your final decision, because you could find the most luxury suit and it ticks all of the boxes that I've covered, and you say, man, Nickie would be so happy about the quality of this garment, but it still needs to feel right for you. And that would be tactically, visually, and emotionally. So the meaning, what do the clothes represent to you and what emotion do they evoke? Do they make you feel creative or comfortable? The method, how does it feel on your body? Like this shirt, I love it, but it kind of chokes me a little bit. Maybe not the best purchase because I don't like that. And then you can also consider how does it feel as you move around? Are you able to sit down comfortably, raise your arms? And the bottom line, do the clothes reflect who you are and how you want to present yourself? And I think that is the most important thing that you can take from today because the bottom line is you want to get clothes that you can and will want to wear over and over again. All right, that's the end of my spiel. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will now see if we have any questions.
I do. You ready?
Yes, go ahead.
I know it probably depends on like what it is and how much you paid, but like give me an idea. How long do I have to keep something to not feel like a terrible person wanting to now get rid of it or replace it?
I would say if you aren't wearing it anymore, it's not serving you. Move it on.
But it's hard. I mean, we can go like 2 years without needing to wear a jacket, you know?
Mhm.
I don't know. I keep a lot of things because I'm like, oh, I only got this much use out of it. And I feel like to make those environmental impacts really worth it, I need to wear it more.
I feel you. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my grandpa grew up in the Great Depression, so his motto was use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. And
Aw.
right? So
Oh my God.
did that ring some bells for you, Keith? Yeah. So if it still serves you, hold on to it. If it doesn't serve you anymore, let someone else get the joy of it. All right, let's see. Aside from clothing, what would you say to look for when thrifting or other items like furniture, accessories, shoes, appliances, etc.? Great question. I love looking at all the little tchotchkes and dishes. I'm learning more about lead paint, and that makes me think twice before I purchase those things. Um, but I do always like to look at them. I've had some really great luck with shoes. I don't know if this is weird. I got these from Salvation Army. I never find shoes that are big enough for my weirdly long feet, but that worked out really good for me. Um, I'm sure there's lots of great videos on YouTube for how to clean the shoes that you get secondhand. I just kind of wiped out the inside with a Clorox wipe. It's not the best, but it's better than nothing. Um, Appliances, Keurig coffee machines. You can usually find a lot of those at thrift stores, and at least in my experience, they've worked just fine. A lot of thrift stores will also test their items before they put them on the shelf, so you can be sure that you're getting something that actually works. Furniture. Furniture could go either way. Usually, I find the furniture that I want to buy at more like estate sales and antique stores, which then puts it a bit out of my price range. But there are some really cool finds at thrift stores. The Goodwill on Gandy usually has a decent furniture selection. They've had some really fun, interesting pieces there. Best thrift stores in the area. For furniture and big items, Goodwill on Gandy. My favorite thrift store was Main Street Thrift on Dunedin and 580 that got closed a little while ago. I miss them terribly. I go to Kimberly Home quite a bit. It's on the smaller side, but they have a really nice selection there. It's not too overwhelming. Any recommended brands? Ooh, Ralph Lauren tends to be pretty good in terms of quality and environmentally conscious, and usually very accessible in thrift stores. That's one that you'll see quite a bit. What else? I've had a lot of good luck with Land's End. Um, that's one of the few brands that has those really nice seams inside a dress shirt. Was a Land's End from I think the 2000s, so it's a little bit older. I also want to mention there's I forgot to show my resource page, silly me. But there's a brand, I'm getting all tongue-tied. I'm hungry, guys. I'm sorry. Um, there's a website called the Vintage Fashion Guild, if I'm remembering that correctly. Um, yes, Vintage Fashion Guild. And you can look up a brand name and it will show the um, like the progression of the tags over time. So if you have a brand name and you can look it up and see like, okay, this is from the 90s instead of from the 2010s. And that can also kind of give you an idea of the quality. One great example is Calvin Klein, because Calvin Klein left the Calvin Klein brand in the 2000s. So pre-2000 Calvin Klein is a lot better than before he left. How would you disinfect clothes and other things you thrift? I've seen a lot of different things online. I usually throw it in with my normal wash. There is a Lysol disinfectant detergent that you can use. It requires like a special drawer on your sewing machine for like an after rinse, and I don't have access to one of those, so I just do it with a regular load. Let's see, any other things I would disinfect. That's about it for disinfecting for me. I could do a lot better. Usually I give it a little sniff. If it smells funky, I'll take a little bit more care. But if it smells all right and it looks clean, usually just one wash with my laundry will be enough for me. Oh, is donating clothes really a good thing, or is it just throwing them away without the guilt? Ah, mm. I struggle with that one so much. Um, I would say donating is better than throwing it away because it still gives the opportunity for its life cycle to continue. Um, but it kind of all boils down to where you donate it. If you give it to somewhere like Goodwill or Salvation Army, it might sit in there for a long time. But if it's a really nice piece of clothing that still has a lot of life left in it, I would try to take it to a consignment store. Um, I think Kimberly Home is a consignment store. Uh, the difference being that consignment will reimburse you for the things that you donate, and thrift is just a straight donation. Um, Uptown Cheapskate is also a consignment store. They tend to prefer things that are a little bit more like hip and trendy. So if you have some more basics, that might not be the best place for them, but you could certainly try. And I think that stores like that are going to have a better chance of reaching the people who would be able to find those pieces and love them and wear them for another few years. From Norma, what fabric would you recommend for women's tops worn on the outside that are not tucked in, that stay in place? Mm. I usually go for cotton. I haven't done a lot of side by side experiments, but cotton's typically my go-to. Yes, Marketplace is great for furniture. Kimberly Home down the street on Fort Harrison. Yes, I go there quite a bit. I like them a lot. I've been looking for denim overalls for a while and can never find any at thrift stores. I feel like maybe I'm looking in the wrong place. I think I saw overalls at, I think, a Sunshine Thrift in St. Pete. But another great resource, if there's something really specific that you're looking for, is ThredUp, which is an online thrift app. You are able to filter by your size, brand, the kind of clothing that you want, if it's shirt, skirt, jacket, outerwear, and you can filter by material if you have preferences for that, price range. I got a nice denim jumper on ThredUp, and I've had some really good luck. They do accept returns. There's like a restocking fee, but they will give you store credit for anything that you return. So I feel pretty safe taking some gambles from ThredUp because I know I can switch it out. Yes, Vintage Marché. I love Vintage Marché. That's where I got my vintage Calvin Klein jeans for $50. So much better than $150 for garbage jeans. I buy storage units as a hobby, like on TV. Oh, thank you, Keith. That is so cool. Thank you very much. Keith says that he has everything. If you're looking for something, give him a call. He normally donates 99% of the clothes and doesn't feel guilty at all. Thank you so much for sharing. That is awesome. All right. I think that is Poshmark too. Yes. Whenever I have something that could be sold, I give it to my sister because she's the between the two of us, she's the one who actually does the clothing selling on Poshmark and eBay and all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, does someone want this dress? Is this cool? She says, yeah, people will buy that. I say, great, sell it for me. All right, we've got about 5 minutes left on our slotted time. So if there are any remaining questions, feel free to put them in the chat or hop on the microphone. Another follow-up question for you all. Oh, thank you, Renee. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I was talking to Jane about doing a mending workshop. If people would like to know how to resew on a button or replace a zipper or hem pants, is that anything that you guys would be interested in? Maria, yes. Awesome. Very good. I will let Jane know. Yay, thank you so much. And laundry practices to keep clothes nice. Yes, definitely. That was something I was going to include at the end of this, but I didn't want to bore the people who didn't mind. So yes, we will definitely talk about some laundry practices. Yeah, one thing I was going to put in the presentation that I didn't know we'd have time for, but since we have a few minutes now, if you're looking for like really nice sportswear, like suits, I would suggest you want to see if it's something that you can alter. Is the chances of grabbing something off the shelf that will fit you not so great, but if you can take it to a tailor, or if you feel ambitious and want to do it yourself, you can find some really nice formal wear. Yeah, so real quick, when you want to do that, you're going to look at the sleeve, and if there's like a nice thick seam allowance, which is where the fabric is turned over, that's always a good sign because that means if it's too short, there's enough fabric that you can let it out to lengthen it. If it doesn't fit you quite how you like around the middle, If the seams don't interfere with the pockets, that is also another way that things can be taken in. I'll talk more about that at our mending workshop. So I can go into more details instead of just waving my hands around. All right, I will let you go. Thank you all so much. This has been a dream. Thanks for letting me ramble. I appreciate you so much. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Bye.